Hey everybody, Jeremy here, and in this video, it's going to be a new experience for me because I have my very first Square Enix Play Arts Kai action figure. I've seen these a lot, I thought that they looked really cool, but I've never owned one and I never held one in person. But I found this guy at GameStop. I know he's not new, but he's new to me, and it was only 50 bucks, which I think was a pretty good deal. So this is Darkseid. This is from the Variant Play Art series, and there's a number of other superheroes and villains that they have made stylized action figures for. You can find Captain America, you can find Black Widow, you can find Spider-Man, you can find Superman, Wonder Woman, and a whole lot of other ones as well. And like I said, I got this from GameStop. It was 50 bucks, and this seems like it's going to be pretty cool. I know that there are some Play Arts Kai fans out there who are really critical about these particular design of the figures and certain things like that. It's a first for me, so I'm probably not going to see a lot of those issues that they see, but I can definitely understand the criticism, especially considering the price point that a lot of these figures tend to launch at. So if you're going to be spending $100+ for a figure, I would understand the little gripes as well too. But here is the box. We get this huge picture of Darkseid. He looks like a Final Fantasy villain, which, you know, is fitting because, you know, Square Enix. But there you go, DC Comics logo right there on the front. You can open this up, and inside this window box here, you can see all the stuff that comes with Darkseid. And he looks pretty awesome just out of this window box. The bio is on there as well. As you can see, he comes with some, with an interchangeable head and some hands as well. And then over on the back, just another really cool picture of Darkseid here. So I'm going to open this guy up and we're going to see what the big deal is, and we're going to see if he's really awesome. Like I said, it's my first Play Arts Kai experience, and I'm hoping it is a good one. All right, so let's get into it. So let's take a closer look at Darkseid here, and the thing that stands out to me the most about this guy is the uniqueness of the painting and the sculpting that was put into this figure and all the figures that are part of the Play Arts Kai line, especially the Variants line. You look at Darkseid here, and no, he's not going to look exactly how he would look straight out of a DC comic book. Then again, he's not supposed to. This is their own unique interpretation of this character, and I think that they did a really good job on him. I decided to pose him up in a way that allowed me to take advantage of the extra accessories that you get. In this case, the interchangeable head. This interchangeable head is pretty cool. You know, it's got these fire energy particle effects coming out of the eyes. It's very easy to pop his head off and put this head on, but I decided to just have him hold that head right there, you know, because Darkseid is a very strong, very menacing person who seems like he would rip off someone's head and just hold it as he looked at it with a lot of pride, like a trophy. So I think that this will be a good pose for him. He's standing up fairly well on his own. I did have some issues trying to get him to stand up at first. With him being so big and somewhat top heavy, you can't really expect to get him in any kind of crazy dynamic poses. So it's best to just try to keep him as simple as you can from the waist down. But if you do want to try to get him into some sort of crazier type of a pose, you also have this that comes in the box. Now, this is a display stand, and you do have to assemble the stand individually. It's not difficult. It does come with a few tiny screws, a few tiny washers, a few tiny bolts. If you have big hands, you might find it a little bit annoying to put that together because everything is so tiny. But you do get two different size clamps. So this is like the larger of the clamps, and then you also get two clamps that are smaller. So you can just put this guy right on here, wrap it around his waist, and then you'll be able to get him into more dynamic poses without the risk of him falling over. You also get a couple pairs of interchangeable hands. Now, he comes with the fisted hands already on him, but what I have here is the other fisted hand, and then also the open palm hand. And so you're not getting a lot of crazy hands. It does not have any accessories that you can attach to him. So basically you just have to decide if you want to have clenched fists or open hands. And I thought having one of each would be a pretty cool thing. So let me just move his head out of the way. We can go over some articulation a bit. Now, since this is my first Play Arts Kai figure, one of the things I was most excited about was the articulation. What's the articulation going to be like on this guy? And it's some pretty decent articulation, some strange articulation as well. So let's just go over that right now. Now, he does have a good range of motion in his head here. As you can see, he can't look up all that much, but he can still look up, but he can look down even more. And what's unique about that is on the back of his head, it's not just his head moving up and down. And people who are used to PlayArt's Kai figures, these are things that you already know. But if you're not used to this line, it's not, his head just isn't attached to a single joint that moves up and down. There's a little something extra in here. So while his head can move up and down by itself, what his head is attached to is also articulated, which allows him to move his head down even further. Now, one particular gripe that you might have when you move his head all the way down, and see if you can see here, is that there's this gap in between like his neck and his head. And if you are very particular about such things, about the exposure of joints or just signs of gappage and imperfections in figures, this might be something that bothers you, although you cannot see it from the front, but just knowing that it's there might bother you. But something else that has that similar issue that you will notice if you were displaying this guy is that he can also move his upper body forwards and backwards. So if you want to have him kind of go back more, you can have him go back this far. But as you can see, the issue with that is, once again, you've got gappage right there. Now, if you wanted to stand him up this far for some reason, that's fine. But just know that that gap in between the armor is going to be ever present. So what I'm going to do is just basically keep it down like that. Now, you can move it even further down using another articulated piece that he has inside. So you can move the upper torso like that, but then you can also move the lower one like that as well. And then when you turn them around on the back, you see what happens when you do that. We've got more gappage right there in the back. So that's something that you really got to be aware of, and know that if that's something that bothers you, then you may want to think of a pose that you can put Darkseid in that won't require him to expose those gaps in his articulation. Because it just really makes it seem like it's very empty on the inside. And even though that is some really good articulation, if that's something that you have to sacrifice, perhaps that's something that you would want to consider before putting him in any pose that exposes the flaws like that. Now, as for the arms, as you can probably hear, those ratcheted joints, I really do like that, because to me, it just makes it feel like there's more quality there. It makes me feel like there's more stiffness in the joints. It's something that's made of a little sterner stuff than just regular old plastic, even though this still is plastic. But with normal action figures, you just get regular movement. But when you can hear that tick, 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 it gives you the option of leaving it at different angles depending on what you might want to do. Perhaps you don't want it to be all the way in. Maybe you just want it to be one click up, and that allows you to do that, and you distinctly know exactly the point of articulation in which you left it. The arm over here, it is on the ball joint, so you can rotate it around 360 degrees if you want. You can also kind of move it up and down. You see how that works? It kind of pops up and down like that. So you're not stuck just on one plane. It can move up and down. You saw how the elbows work. It's about a 90-degree angle on the elbows. You can move his fist. Look at that ball joint right there on the hand. So you can move that up and down. This arm is going to be the exact same way. As for the legs here, you see that it's a little bit stiff, but he has those double jointed knees like that. So that's really good. It's always nice to have some nice double jointed knees. And as you can see, it is ratcheted and it is nice and, well, it's stiff. So you're going to have to work it out, but it does seem like it's tough. It's bordering, I feel, on the line of being very secure feeling and also kind of scary, because you kind of feel like, ooh, I don't want to break it. I'm going to have to be careful with this. So if you do decide to mess around with the legs and knees and stuff, just know that you're going to have to re-articulate him when you're done so that you can maintain a nice sturdy pose. Because even though he's standing up like this, I kind of feel like eventually in the middle of the night, I'm going to hear a crash. So be prepared to re-articulate him. Over here on the feet, you see that you do have articulation right here. There's like a little ball joint right there, so you can move the toes down. You can move them up, you know, about that far, and it does rotate, help you stand them up a bit more. And as for his legs, you can move them out probably about that far. If it goes further, maybe. I don't want to chance it because it's getting a little bit too stiff. And as far as moving out, you can see you can kick his leg up about that much. So he's not going to be able to stand up on his own on one foot since he's so heavy, but that's what this stand is for. If you can get him in a crazy pose while having this stand or another stand, hold him securely in place, you can go ahead and do that. This part right here is just made of a very flexible and material so that it doesn't get in the way of articulation. As you can see, as I move the leg up, this bit of armor just comes along with it. So that's good that it doesn't hinder the articulation of Darkseid. And of course, you can still turn his upper torso pretty darn far. But when you're done, you're going to have to take a good look at this guy and decide if he is going to be a good fit for you on your shelf. He does stand at around he's around 10 inches tall, so he is pretty big. And just trying to get him to stand up right here, you know, is going to take me some fiddling because, you know, once you move him around, he will have a tendency to want to topple over. So you got to get him in that exact pose that you want to have. But overall, you know, I really do like this figure. For the price that I paid for him was only $50 at GameStop. And that's not the price that these PlayArts Kai figures usually come out as. These figures will tend to cost you around the $100-ish mark, depending on what you want to get, and over. But as this is an older figure, and as these figures get older and you'll find them in GameStop, you'll tend to see them go down in price. So in addition to this one, there's a Black Widow that's also like 50 bucks right now. There's a Joker that's 50 bucks right now. And you can just go online if they don't have them in your actual store to try to pick up some of these variants. So this is definitely a very unique line of collectibles of action figures. Due to their size, so they're going to be quite large, and due to the stylized nature of them, you're not going to find a Darkseid or another character that has the unique styling that Square Enix can give it when it comes to this PlayArts Kai variant line. So, you know, I think that these are really cool. I do appreciate that it came with the stand, so that's very helpful. And the detail on this guy, you know, is just amazing. It's really good, especially for the amount of money that I paid for it. So if you're interested in these, go ahead, check them out. It may not be a new figure in general, but it's new to me and I like it. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to get this guy to stand up again. And while I do that, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos just like this in the future. And until next time, I'm Jeremy, and I'll talk to you later.